Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Aquarian Mind podcast. Today's podcast, episode number 33. I'm your host, Jamel Crothers. It's Book Insight Friday. We're up to Code Blue, an Ode to the Badge and Gun, Part 4. And this book, it was time. It was time for Gary to expose everything. It was time for Gary to get his mind right and get himself to a place where he will feel spiritually and emotionally and mentally free. It's time that he exposed everything that he's experienced, heard, been through, felt, and lost along the way, which was his family, his friends, and his sanity. So this was definitely a book that was going to be fulfilling, and it would be a breath of fresh air for Gary. Unload all the burdens that he's lived with for months at a time. But once again, while he does the right thing, there will be consequences for what he's done in regards to exposing the truth. Now, I wasn't going to make this book easy and smooth sailing like Gary goes back to the DOJ and he exposes the truth and everything is great, holly jolly, and there's this happy ending. No. His co-workers and his superiors and so many others would be angry at him, and there was going to be backlash, and there was going to be a hefty price for what he did. And I had to write this in because, well, this is the reality of what happens to police officers who expose the truths of what goes on behind closed doors and what goes on in these streets and what goes on in various situations and circumstances. So, sometimes in life there's the risk-reward ordeal. And, well, I love to write that in storylines. And I do it for a reason because, well, that's life. That's how it goes. So the risk was coming out and exposing it all and getting ostracized by his own peers, and the reward that he gets to repair his relationship with his son, Gary Jr. And I had to keep things in perspective with writing this book because, well, there's good and bad in situations, and, well, this was one of them, right? So, basically, in a nutshell, the corruption comes to a screeching halt when every major person part of all of these cases that Gary was involved in are either arrested or investigated for their wrongdoings. And that, well, there's hope in exposing these harsh truths of what goes on in today's society. And that, good police officers that do their jobs and do it the right way, they need to speak on what's going on. It can't be one, can't be two or three. It has to be hundreds of these officers speaking the truth and not doing these, small little Instagram videos or the IGTV videos and all that stuff. No. Everything must come to light. Everything. Not bits and pieces. The cold, hard truth. Nothing gets held back. And for me, well, I tried to write it in a way where it's emotional. And you feel for Gary, and you're happy, for him that he's finally broken this silence, and maybe my writing will shine light on things. And granted, I have not experienced what it's like to be a police officer, but for me, my writing is putting you in people's shoes and also putting myself in these people's shoes, and doing hypotheticals and, doing the whole critical thinking of, okay, well, what is the situation? Because it's easy for me it would have been easy for me to write a book where, I, talk about what citizens deal with. I know what citizens deal with. I know what all of the American people and all of the people that live around this world deals with when it comes to police officers. And some people have good experiences, and some people have bad, and some people have indifferent, and some people have good and bad experiences. That's just life, unfortunately. And I'm not saying, everything needs to be perfect and it needs to be a rosy garden, but look, the reality of it is that there's too many wrongdoings that are going on in this world, and it gets tiring and it gets old. And, are there answers to a lot of these things? Of course there is. But the exposing of all these things that get shown to us in front of our faces daily, those are the things that need to get talked about. I'm not going to go into, all the finances and defund the police. No. I'm not doing all that. But, my books are to get people to think a little bit. That's my goal. I'm not trying to be perfect. But for me, it was fulfilling to write Code Blue 4. And I knew that eventually I was going to have to write the silver linings, all of it, of, okay, well, I'm going to bring Gary back to the DOJ again, and I'm going to get him to, speak the truth, and now I have to write the aftermath of it. And, there are certain things that are going to happen to Gary in this, and, well, you got to read the series in order to find out. I mean, I'm already telling you what Code Blue 4 is about and what it consists of, but I have to tell you what the book is about in a way, because then it allows me to speak on my mindset and the way I was thinking about writing this. And hopefully I got it right. I mean, that's my only hope. And when I write blogs and things like that, the good thing is that you can see on my website, and you look into the blog of Code Blue 4, you will see the notes and what I wrote and what went into it, and, all that. And yeah, talking about, these books, I could easily sit and read excerpts from the books, but that's not my goal. My goal is to speak on what went into it and why, and, what I was thinking, because a lot of people don't know what, happens with authors and what their mindset is and how long it takes for them to write these things, and what makes them write what they write. And by the way, Code Blue 1, 2, and 3 are in audio format. So, yeah, if you go on my website, aquarianmindwrites.com, you can find the audiobooks. It'll take you to PayHip, and you'll be able to listen to an excerpt of it, since you guys are listening to my podcast, and I appreciate you guys listening to the Code Blue series in audio format. Code Blue 4 and Code Blue 5, it will be available in the coming months. I'm working on various projects right now, working on some books for next year, and watching certain TV shows for content, to think of, and experiencing life in the world. So I'm not in full-fledged of recording Code Blue 4 and Code Blue 5 quite yet, but I will be soon. And when those are available, I'll let you guys know. But I will leave the links for the Code Blue series in audio format, so you guys can, go and, look into that if you guys choose to. But I will say, writing this series, even though it is fictional, there are a lot of things that correlate to what's going on in the world, and literally right now. And I know, I'm quite sure a lot of you guys don't live in caves and live under rocks, so you guys know what's going on, and I don't need to go into all of that, because if I do, I'm going to get a little too emotional, and I don't want to do that. That's not my goal in this podcast. I'm not here to be too opinionated. But I try my best to let the content that I write about speak for itself. I try to let this podcast speak for me. I try to let my blog speak for me. And that allows people to get inside of my mind a little bit more. So anyway, with that said, that's my podcast for today. I thank you guys for listening daily and weekly. I know lately I've been skipping weeks, and then in the following week I'm coming back with podcasts. I'm going to stick to that for a little while, because I've got other stuff going on, and trying to catch up on a couple of other things right now. So anyway, you guys have a really good weekend. Enjoy yourselves. And as always, be good, everyone, and go and accomplish your goals.